called sticky rice, and believe me, it is exactly what it says on the tin. So what I'm doing now is laying the rice onto these trays which have been sterilised, and this is to cool it down and to be able to add half of the packet of the rice leaven on it. You can't add the yeast stuff and enzymes until it's cooled down, so I'll be checking the temperature of it as well. The rice has cooled down nicely, it's about 24 degrees now, so we sprinkle half the packet of the rice leaven onto the rice that we've got standing here. I can get rid of that now. And then we use the other half in the actual fermenter. Okay. Now, what we do is we add the rest of the rice leaven into there, roughly in an equal amount if possible. And we're going to give it a little bit of water. Now, I've seen people use water and I've seen people say that you shouldn't use water. I'm following Home City Steading's way of doing it, so I'm putting a little bit of water in and then I'm going to mix it up. Not a lot of water, but just a little bit. Probably about that much. Try and get them about the same. Yeah, that'll do. I'm happy with that. And then we're going to stir it. Give it a wee stir just to get it all going together. Mix all that stuff. I mean, this is such a weird way of brewing. I've never even contemplated ever having something that has no sugar in, like rice, and then being able to have that ferment once from starches into sugars, and then something else in there, wild yeast or another enzyme or something, I really don't know, then breaks down the sugar into alcohol. So it must be a yeast of some sort. But yeah, dual fermentation, and apparently it's going to taste like pineapple. I've never tried Sakè, or Sakè, whatever you want to call it. I've never actually tried it myself, but I'm hoping that this will be a good indication of what it tastes like. So, I get the... let's find the right one for the right lid, which is not that one. And then I'm going to wire that top off. Yeah, I'll do. Now, I know that the proper way to do this, they do not use a bubbler, but I've got a dog and I don't want dog hairs in it, because that won't be nice. No one wants to be spitting out dog hairs. bought these from a homebrew store in America called Homebrew Ohio, and it was actually cheaper to buy them from them than it was to buy them in the UK. These open mouth fermenters, they're about 20 odd, £22 each, but I can use these to make mead with, you see, instead of having to use it in a big bucket. I can make the mead in these with the fruits and stuff already in them, without having to fart around with a massive fermenter and then transfer it to a demijohn. Now most people would have already had this prepared, but not me. Why would I do something as clever as that? Now I need to check that that one's alright, which it's not, so that's got to come up as well. And then you're poking in from the bottom. Is the way to do it, that's the way. Ha 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 ha. Probably within about 24 hours, this should start kicking off, doing what it's going to do, and we'll see what occurs. Out of there, and then it needs to go through the bottom. It's got some like flap underneath it that obviously just gives it a bit of a better seal, a bit more rubber of a seal. I didn't think properly. Well, that looks a bit flipping ski whiff, doesn't it? There we are. Everything has been sanitised using a sanitizer. I can't remember the name of it at the moment, but it's good stuff. And there you go, 2 batches of sake. Hope to get about 4 litres out of this, maybe 3.5 litres, because you don't get a lot of alcohol liquid from it in comparison to the amount of rice that you bought. So there's 2 kilograms of rice, and you have to use 1.2 of the amount of water. So times 1.2 of the water that you do of the rice. So if you've got 2 kilograms of rice, you need 240 of 2,400 grams of water. So yeah, I had to weigh the water out. I was going to steam the rice, but I didn't have a steamer or anything that I could steam it with big enough, so I just boiled it. It's sticky, it looks like it did on the video that I watched, so fingers crossed we'll get some sakè. Okay. The sake is behaving rather oddly. So it's definitely at room temperature. I don't even know if you can see that properly. It's between 22, 23, closer to 22. I've released the lids because it's gaining negative pressure. So instead of it going up this way, it's been drawing it back that way. But slightly, ever so slightly, not anything that's going to cause a problem, and it is only sanitised water that's in there. But it shouldn't be doing that. Now, it could be because you're not supposed to cover it with an airlock. And maybe some, like I said before, wild yeast gets in there and is what causes the fermentation. Maybe it's starved of oxygen. That's my thoughts. So, the sake has started to fall down after separating. Not sure whether it's supposed to do that, but either way, I'm going to taste it to see whether there's any blooming alcohol in it or whether I've just got some sweet ricey water. Because if it's just sweet ricey water, definitely smells sort of fermenty. And I've got to try and get none of the rice. Yeah, as always, I'm not prepared. Where the bloody hell's that gone? There it is. The place there I thought it was. Am I going to fit? Yeah, it looks alright to me. Just in case I do get any rice. So, squeeze the baster. Wow. I think it's blocked. There we go. That's plenty enough just to taste it. I don't want too much because I'm currently taking some painkiller medicine, so we certainly don't want to antagonise that. That's actually a bit less than I thought I was going to get, but it shall be perfectly fine. Let's pop this back on. That was sterilised, by the way. Always sterilised. Everything that touches any of my brews has been sterilised. Because you get infection, that's it. All your ingredients are wasted. All your time's wasted. Smells a bit peculiar. They just taste like ricey water. There's no alcohol in that. Okay, so that did not taste like I thought it was going to taste at all. It just tasted like sugary rice water, which means the enzyme's doing its job, but there's no yeast doing its job. Right, it's only 6 days old. Pardon me. It's still bubbling away, but I can't quite understand why it hasn't started to ferment. Unless it has and I just didn't notice in the taste, but it certainly didn't smell like alcohol, it just smelled fermented. Back with the sweet rice water. It's doing something, the airlock says so. I did just take that off, which is why it's reset itself. Options are, add another one of these. If you can hear anything, it's the dog spazzing out because there's a fly in the house. I could add another packet of this, which I don't think is going to help because all that has is rice flour and the enzyme that breaks down the starches into sugar. Doesn't have a yeast, so I'm thinking it needs a wild yeast, which like it would catch just floating around in the air. So I've got another one over there because I did 2 batches of this, or I did 2 kilograms, which fluffed up crazy. When I put it in the jar, it was down to about there, and it's topped itself up and whatnot, and all the water's being released from the cooked rice. That may be a problem as well. It could very well be the rice was cooked instead of steamed because I didn't have anything to steam it. Anything big enough to steam it in. And because I'm pissed off that it's not working, I've decided to mix it up. I don't know whether this is a good idea. I'm hoping to introduce some sort of yeast in there. to get this shit going, but honestly don't know if it's going to work or what. And just for the record, this wasn't sterilised. This is an experiment because I'm hoping that there might be some sort of wild yeast on this that I've now put in there, which will make it sort its shit out. But we won't know until a short period of time, I suppose. When we try it next, I'm going to let that all settle back down. It should do what it's done. If not, I've ruined that batch and I'll concentrate on the other one, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. Is what it is. Now, strangely enough, there's a fly in the air trap. Now, I'm not quite sure how it's got in a small little hole on top of that, but it's bobbing around every time a fucking bubble goes. The suspense is killing me! Whee! So today I am checking on the Sakè rice wine. Bit of information there, how it went, what went wrong. Sakè used 2 kilograms of sweet glutinous rice. You then have to use 1.2 ratio of water, even though I actually had to add more because I was boiling the rice instead of steaming it, which is what you're supposed to do. 1 rice leaven packet, and on the 18th, number 2, tasted like alcohol, and was 60% okay in flavour. Number 1, it didn't seem to be starting a ferment, and it just tasted sour, and it wasn't very pleasant at all, and I was actually nearly sick, which my son found highly amusing. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to remove number 2, which is still doing something. It's still got activity in there. It's still got the dead fly in there. Still don't know how that fucker got in there. I'm going to move this one out of the road because that's still doing what it's doing. Now, this has positive pressure, but it's not bubbling anymore, which means it's either stopped doing what it's doing or it's needing a bit of help. Now, last time I stirred this one, and then it started doing what it was supposed to do. The other one I left and didn't stir, but then eventually did stir it. Not sure what that did, but then it started this one, kick-started the ferment going again. Now, a lot of the rice is broken down. Here it's clearly all mushy. Let's bring it a bit closer so you might be able to see it a little bit better. Maybe. So down here at this level, it's all really, really mushy. It's lost all of its structure as the enzymes or mold has broken down and then converted the starches into sugar. Now, there is some still in here that's produced. You can see, I don't know if you can see it, but there is some air pockets and stuff still visible. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the lid off this. We're going to try it again. I really don't want to, but I have to see whether it's actually done anything or doing anything. Got loads of sterilised equipment over here, and I've got a demijohn ready sterilised just in case I do need to rack this into another vessel for aging. But depending on what it tastes like, depending on whether we do that or not. If it tastes like ass, again, I certainly won't be drinking the fucking thing. I'll be tipping it down the damn sink. As where the other one is still going. Okay. It doesn't smell rotten or anything, and that does smell like alcohol. There's definitely ethanol present in that. I'm going to try a different way of doing this. I'm going to push down to just get the liquid. I'm sure that'll be plenty enough for a wee sample. I don't want too much in case it does taste like shit, which it might. No, that needs to go back in there. That can come out. Little tip, always keep a sink or some sort of vessel with sanitizing liquid in, so you can just put things back in. Okay, that does smell like alcohol. Let's give it a taste. So you can see the reaction cam. It's not as bad as it was last time. Fuck off, fly. It tastes better, but it's still not very nice. It's almost sour. I've actually ordered a bottle of sake so I can taste what sake should taste like to see whether I'm in the ballpark for having created sake or not. Nah. Don't know about that. It's not overly horrible, but it's not extremely pleasant. There's definitely alcohol in there though. I can feel that warming me up straight away. I did boil the rice instead of steaming it. You're supposed to steam the rice. But like I said in the last video, I didn't have enough... I didn't have anything to steam it with. So I had to cook it. But vessel number 2, which is the one that I didn't stir to begin with until this one started up after I'd stirred it. It's a very peculiar taste, that. Right, so because it still tastes a bit dank or whatever I want to call it, I'm going to stir this up again. This has been sterilised this time. First time I was pissed off and didn't sterilise it. But this time I'm gonna mix it all up. Now there's bubbles producing again, so maybe they were just trapped in there, but it was giving off positive pressure, but it just wasn't doing anything anymore. So we'll get that going around like that into the sanitizer liquid, because if one of them's good and maybe this one's not going to ever get good, maybe it's just going to stay with that harsh, like almost sour taste. There is a possibility that it might, but if it does, then at least I'm not putting that stuff into the other one. So now I'm going to try the vessel number 2. And this is the one that actually tasted okay. I'm going to kill this fucking fly because it's pissing me off. It's after my sake. Now this one... Motherfucker! Right. So this one is still bubbling, still showing positive pressure and bubbling away. Down the bottom again, it's all turned to mush. You can see bubbles. So we're gonna test this one, see what this one tastes like. Pardon me. Just going to rinse this cup out because we don't want any afternotes of the other one in this one. We want this one to just taste exactly like it should. I may even only actually get one batch of sake out of this. Sake, whatever. And I might be able to get straight in there and just take the liquid as it seems to have formed on the top there. Now this is a lot cleaner. There's no wispy bits floating around in it. I didn't even need to use the jobby. I should probably remove the fly that's got fucking stuck in there. It's not doing any harm though, it can't go nowhere. In fact, I will do that now. Actually, I'll do it in a second. So now then, reaction cam for sake number 2. Done in exactly the same way. One seemed to go well, one seemed to not bother. Definitely alcohol. Quite pungent alcohol actually, really, what would you say, like almost like a spirit maybe? See, that's okay. Doesn't taste as strong as the other one. It still has a bit of a sour note to it though. I'm not getting any fruit. It doesn't taste like rice though, as where the other one does taste a little bit like rice. The pressure's changed in that now. I've stirred it all up. It's now dropped down further. Where to go from here? I really don't want to put that one in there or put them together in a demijohn, because that might make one that does actually taste okay then taste shit. But I'm not racking this off today because I don't think there's any need to, simply because it's still working, it's still doing its job. So yeah, I'm going to leave it a little bit longer. I've stirred the other one up. I believe this one is maybe having another go at it. There's more pressure in there than there was. It's all new to me though, this. It's sort of like, it's just an experiment really. I might get my hands on a rice steamer and give it another go, see if I get better results whenever this is bottled. Number one, if it carries on tasting like that, I'm going to throw it. If for some magic reason it manages to sort itself out, then could bottle it, I suppose, but it's not very nice. I could probably get away with drinking number 2. I'm tempted to stir number 2, but I'm also not wanting to, because it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, so I'm going to leave that be. So that is the revisit of the sake, or sake, which actually means liquor, apparently. I always thought it meant rice wine, but one of the chaps that I follow on YouTube, City Steading, found out that it actually just means liquor. So, yeah, it is liquor, I suppose. It's strongish alcohol. So we'll see, yeah. We shall check back in about maybe a week and see where we're at.